They're wild, they're expensive, and they're built with a level of insane craftsmanship that's hard to wrap your head around. From a 1969 Ford Torino so clean, it looks like it came off a spaceship, to a hand-built Chevy pickup with details you'd miss even if you stared all day. These Barrett-Jackson Cup contenders aren't your typical show cars. They're insane works of art that turned heads under the bright lights of the Barrett-Jackson stage. Without further ado, let's get into the 11 Barrett-Jackson Cup vehicles you won't believe were real. Number 1. 1969 Ford Torino. You might remember when Ford dropped the Torino Talladega back in '69, trying to knock Dodge's Daytona and Plymouth's Superbird off their high-speed pedestals. But decades later, George Poteet, a man who knows his way around fast Fords, decided this forgotten war machine deserved a resurrection. Rad Rides by Troy took this Torino and turned it into a street machine that looks like it's ready to chew asphalt for breakfast. They slammed it so close to the ground that it looks like it's scraping the Earth's crust. 3 inches out of the front fenders, 5 inches wider, and an entire inch shaved off the wheelbase, making this thing look like it's in full pursuit even when it's parked. They carved the entire grille from a solid block of billet aluminum. The suspension? C5 Corvette up front, Detroit Speed 4-link in the rear, all sitting on an Art Morrison chassis that practically hugs the road like it owes it money. Under the hood, a 750 horsepower Ford Boss 429 V8, painted in a bronze satin finish, sits like a piece of mechanical art, ready to blow the doors off anything that challenges it. The engine bay is so clean you could eat off it. Inside, this car isn't about leather-wrapped luxury. It's a period-correct homage to Holman Moody NASCAR racers, stripped of creature comforts, with exposed polished rivets and grommet-vented leather seats that nod to the GT40's racing heritage. Even the gauges rock Holman Moody logos, reminding you this isn't a cruiser. It's built to run hard.
I was in Fast and Furious 7 and Fast and Furious 8. Vin Diesel sat in the car, and it was used in some of the scenes with Vin Diesel there, so it's got that aspect too. So it's a showstopper, good guys winner, SEMA winner, as well as a movie set winner.
It's no wonder it bagged the inaugural Barrett-Jackson Cup at Hot August Nights in Reno, along with a $20,000 prize check, a trophy big enough to double as a coffee table, and a bonus LS 3-crate engine from Chevrolet. Before we move on to the next mind-blowing Cup vehicle, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell on our channel so you never miss another deep dive into the world's rarest, craziest automotive machines. Number 2. 1957 Chevy Pickup Quicksilver. Owned by Alan Beers and built by Hot Rod Garage in Oklahoma, this truck got a full identity transplant. Every single body panel on this truck has been altered. They chopped the top 3 inches and laid the windshield back another 3, giving it that sleek, arrow-headed aggression that makes it look fast while standing still. The front end? Completely redesigned, featuring a narrowed, tucked bumper and a hood that's been pancaked to perfection. The bed, tailgate, belly pans, and roll pan, all hand-built. You could spend a full day just walking around this truck, spotting custom touches you've never seen before. The paint, a two-tone red and silver, practically glows under the sun, making it impossible to ignore. Under that custom hood sits a 540 cubic inch big block Chevy engine, pushing out a neck-snapping 650 horsepower, thanks to a Crower injector stack converted to fast EFI. Power gets sent through a Gearstar 4 L60E automatic transmission to a Ford 9-inch rear end, paired with 3.70 gears and a strange engineering limited slip differential. It rides on a fully boxed frame with a Fatman Mustang 2 front suspension and a 4-link rear setup, all controlled with Bilstein coilovers that keep this beast planted when you hit the throttle. The wheels, custom 20-inch up front, 22-inch in the rear, made by Greening Auto Company, with bare 6-piston disc brakes stopping those monsters on a dime. When you see those massive 15-inch rotors peeking through the custom wheels, you know this truck was built for more than just show.
The 2014 Barrett-Jackson Cup winner.
There's your grand prize, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look there. As you can see, it is a pickup, a 57-year-old pickup, because it was born in 1957. It's owned by Alan Beers, and the builder will be driving it up in just a few moments. His name's Jason Smith, and the Hot Rod Garage.
Quicksilver took home the 2014 Barrett-Jackson Cup in Reno and has scooped up awards everywhere it's gone, including the Grade 8 finalist for the Riddler Award, the Mother's Choice Award at SEMA, and the Good Guys Truck of the Year. It even sold at Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale in 2016 for a jaw-dropping $214,500. Number 3. 1962 Chevrolet Bel Air Bubble Top. This car took the 2015 Barrett-Jackson Cup, bagging a prize package worth nearly $60,000, but you wouldn't know it by how unassuming it looked sitting under those lights. Randy and Lisa Wilcox owned this beauty, But the real magic came from Andy Leach and the crew at Cal Automotive Creations in Nebraska. They partnered with Charlie Hutton, a paint wizard who stacked Riddler and America's most beautiful Roadster wins like most folks collect coffee mugs. Hutton laid down that magnesium silver with PPG's high-performance finishes, making the car gleam under the harshest Nevada sun. What makes it truly strange is how understated it was in a sea of hot rods covered in neon graphics, crazy chrome, and engines sticking out like sore thumbs. Here's this bubble top with tucked bumpers, billet machine trim, and a supercharged LS9 V8, pushing 630 horsepower, paired with a 6-speed Tremec manual, ready to chew up the strip. Yet, it wasn't obnoxious about it. It sat on an Art Morrison chassis, riding low on custom billet specialties wheels, looking like it was barely trying. Even the engine bay was a showpiece, finished with pepper gray and topped with a matte clear that gave it a stealth fighter vibe. You know what's wild? This car wasn't the only bubble top in the spotlight that year. Another 1962 bubble top, named Sanity, and built by RMD Garage, showed up like a flex from another dimension. It had an LS3 with 555 horsepower, a 4-link JRI coilover setup, and a fully custom belly with fabricated belly pans and embedded bumpers. The taillights, pocketed, sunk-in LEDs. It ran red ceramic-coated Borla exhausts that exited right through the bumper. Number 4. 1936 Ford Roadster. In 2022, a 1936 Ford Roadster, built by Pinky's Rod Shop and owned by Bob Johnson, waltzed right into the Barrett-Jackson Cup and snatched the ultimate best in show.
The Barrett-Jackson Cup, this 1936 Ford Roadster, belongs to Bob Johnson out of Gainesville, Georgia. Not only does he get the Barrett-Jackson Cup, but he gets a $20,000 check as well. Congratulations to him.
This car came with a backstory that feels like a slice of Americana. More than 20,000 hours went into building this Roadster. That's 8 years of metal shaping, CNC machining, and fine-tuning every single panel until it was perfect. The wheelbase was stretched to 115 inches, built on radius-formed 10-gauge steel frame rails. They didn't just slap on a modern suspension. They engineered a heights-independent front suspension with rack and pinion steering, strange coilovers, Willwood brakes, and a Winters quick-change rear end with a 3.73 gear. The car rolls on one-off billet wheels, crafted by Curtis Speed Equipment, and finished in Cerakote by Colorado Gun Cleaners. It's not your run-of-the-mill street rod with cookie-cutter parts either. Pinky's Rod Shop fabricated over 300 custom pieces for this build, from tiny bezels to piano-hinged 4-piece hoods, laid-back machined windshield posts, and even machined taillight lenses. The body lines? Streamlined to perfection, a nod to the Art Deco streamlined modern aesthetic of the 30s, but with a modern twist that kept the soul of the original intact. Every panel was smoothed, reshaped, and detailed without going overboard. Under the hood, the Roadster's engine bay is like a jewelry case, clean, organized, and jaw-dropping. They even hid modern vintage air systems seamlessly, so it stays cool in the summer without killing the vintage vibe. Number 5. 1969 Pontiac Firebird. This 69 Pontiac Firebird is a legitimate 200-mile-per-hour street freak, custom built by BBT Fabrications.
From BBT Fabrications, a 1969 Pontiac Firebird powered by a 482 cubic inch twin-turbo Butler Performance Pontiac V8.
And it didn't just roll into Scottsdale looking pretty. It walked away with the 2023 Barrett-Jackson Cup Ultimate Best in Show.
Right here, a 1969 Pontiac Firebird Custom is taking home the Barrett-Jackson Cup for 2023.
Let's get this straight. This Firebird is a record-holding monster with the East Coast Timing Association, clocking 200.3 miles per hour in the standing mile and a wild 213 miles per hour in the 2K class. The power under the hood? A 482 cubic inch, all-aluminum Pontiac V8 from Butler Performance with twin precision 68mm turbos. This bad boy throws down over 1,200 horsepower, tuned by Karma Performance, and managed by a Holley Dominator ECU. You can't even wrap your head around that unless you've felt your spine compress against the seat in a full throttle pull. Now, the sheet metal on this thing? Wild. They widened the fenders, fabricated a custom aluminum hood with vents, reworked the quarter-panel body lines, added a one-off rear spoiler, and even built front and rear diffusers. This car screams speed while sitting still. But it's not just about going fast. This Firebird is covered in PPG McLaren Racing Green, so deep and liquid that it looks like you could dive into it. Inside, it's like stepping into a fighter jet, crossed with a luxury hotel. The BBT-built aluminum dash sports Dakota digital HDX gauges, custom air registers, and a Spark Industries billet wheel. The interior has black Alcantara, wrapped over custom aluminum panels, and fine Moore and Giles leathers hug you in bucket seats from Cato's custom upholstery. 6. 1960 Buick Invicta. Owned by George and Angela Eliakostas, this Invicta is the 2024 Barrett-Jackson Cup winner.
And the winner for this year, the 2024 Barrett-Jackson Cup Ultimate Best in Show, is the Buick Invicta.
And trust me, it's the last thing you'd expect to be prowling around with this kind of swagger. Andy Leach and his crew at Cal Auto Creations took this 222-inch beast and turned it into a showstopper, capturing virtually every major award, including the 2023 Sloanaker Award at the Grand National Roadster Show and the Triple Crown of Rotting before claiming the Barrett-Jackson Cup. Under the hood, you'll find a factory-correct 401-inch nailhead V8, but it's not stock by any means. They installed a crank-driven supercharger using custom bracketry, giving this yacht a purposeful move. It's paired with a Bowler performance-prepped 4L80E automatic, so it cruises like butter, while still ready to bark when you hit the gas. The interior is a strange yet beautiful mashup of NOS, 1956 Chrysler Imperial fabric, and custom-woven aircraft material, stitched over rare Invicta hardback bucket seats. The Wonderbar radio appears vintage, but it has been upgraded with Bluetooth and digital instrumentation, concealing its technology like a sleeper in a tailored suit. Here's where it gets stranger. The chassis is a fully custom one-off IRS 4-link, with machined control arms, Penske coilover shocks, and bare 6-piston rear brakes. It's built to ride low on air suspension, yet it's so precisely engineered you could daily this beast if you dared. The body modifications are nearly invisible until you start looking closely. The front wedge is cut by 2 inches, the front wheel opening moved forward by 1.5 inches, the firewall recessed 6 inches, the hood lengthened, and the cowl shortened. At first glance, it's a 60 Invicta, but in reality, it's a modern engineering masterpiece hiding beneath classic lines. Number 7. 1968 Dodge Charger. This monster, built by Classic Car Studio, straight up snatched the ultimate at the 2025 Barrett-Jackson Cup in Scottsdale.
And the winner of the 2025 Barrett-Jackson Cup, presented by Castrol, the Ultimate Best in Show, is the 1968 Dodge Charger. The owner is Ed Ganzanati, built by Classic Car Studio. Congratulations, the 2025 Barrett-Jackson, a $20,000 check. Come on, Scottsdale, show them how much you appreciate the work that went into this car.
And it didn't do it by playing it safe. Picture this, a matching numbers 440 cubic inch big block originally built by Dick Lindy, tied to a 4L80 transmission, and it sits on a Roadster shop fast-track chassis that plants it low and mean. Those billet specialties wheels give it a stance that looks like it's ready to sucker punch the asphalt. But what really made folks' jaws drop was the bodywork. Sharpened body lines, tucked bumpers, and drip rails shaved so clean, you'd think the car was sculpted out of bronze. The judges got hooked on the details. A modified wheelbase, custom stainless exhaust, and an interior that looks like it was hand-stitched by a watchmaker with OCD. The exterior? That flawless BASF glycerate paint that somehow looks deep enough to dive into. Out of 92,000 Chargers made in 1968, only 17,000 were RTs, and of those, about 2,700 were equipped with a 440 and a stick. This beast is one of those unicorns. Back in the day, it even rolled with manual brakes and manual steering, no power assists. Just you wrestling the car like a bull on blacktop. Hard mode, baby. At Barrett-Jackson, this Charger didn't just win a trophy. It walked away with a $20,000 cash purse, bragging rights, and the kind of respect that follows a car for the rest of its life. The strangeness of this build isn't in some crazy, futuristic drivetrain swap or neon show lights. It's in how absurdly perfect it is, while still keeping its soul. It's like a heavyweight boxer wearing a tuxedo, knocking out everything else in the room without breaking a sweat. Number 8. 1965 Chevrolet Impala, the Imposter. Don Voth wants a 1965 Chevy Impala SS for his wife, Elma, but he also wants it to handle like a modern sports car. So what does he do? He calls up Chip Foose, and together they hatch one of the most outrageous builds ever to hit the Barrett-Jackson Cup. They named it the Imposter for a reason. Underneath that classic skin sits the beating heart and bones of a 2009 Corvette. They bought a brand new Corvette, then wrapped it up in a chopped, shortened Impala body, like a custom-tailored suit. It didn't stop there. They chopped 8 inches out of the roof and 6 inches from the rear quarters and deck lid, while the windshield header moved back over an inch, steepening the rake so the car looks like it's always ready to pounce. The Corvette chassis even had to be stretched 8 inches to match the modified wheelbase of the Impala body. Imagine the engineering nightmare that must have been. And yet, Foose and his team pulled it off while retaining the Corvette's stock wiring and dashboard, including OnStar. Under the hood, it rocks the Corvette's 6.2-liter pushrod V8. But Foose didn't leave it alone, adding a Magnuson supercharger, a custom cold air intake, and a performance exhaust that makes this car sing like a 4-barrel Banshee. This thing isn't just a cruiser. It's a full-on Corvette in disguise, ready to embarrass modern muscle with a stomp of the pedal. Everywhere you look, the Imposter drips with hand-built detail. The bumpers are custom, tucked tight against the body. The taillights? Custom triple-round setups, inspired by old-school Corvette and Pontiac treatments, adding a unique retro-futuristic flair that makes you look twice. Even the fuel filler is hidden right behind the rear window on the deck. Another Corvette nod that's both weird and genius. 9. 1956 Plymouth Belvedere. You wouldn't expect a 56 Plymouth Belvedere to come out swinging against all those Camaros and Chevelles, but Gil and Janet Losey didn't care about the odds. They had a vision, and with Steve Cook Creations behind the build, this Belvedere rolled up to the 2015 Barrett-Jackson Cup and snagged third runner-up like it was the most natural thing in the world. Steve Cook began with a spec-built Art Morrison chassis, incorporating a Ford 9-inch rear axle with a Detroit locker, strange axles, and a 4-link suspension featuring a panhard bar. He rigged up Ride-Tech airbags on all 4 corners and massive bare disc brakes, then threw on Curtis speed milled. Foose designed one-off wheels so clean you'd be afraid to breathe near them. Under the hood is a fuel-injected 6.1-liter Hemi out of a 2006 Dodge Charger SRT-8, pushing over 400 horsepower through a 545 RFE 5-speed automatic. Nothing about that belongs in a 1956 Plymouth, yet here we are. The engine bay looked cleaner than your kitchen sink after a deep scrub, with Curtis speed valve covers, a Bob Ream intake, and fuel injection system, a Ron Davis radiator, and a Billet Specialties alternator. It even had one-off headers feeding into MagnaFlow mufflers for a sound that probably turned heads 3 towns over. But the real sorcery was the bodywork. Steve Cook wedge-cut the entire car 5 inches, sectioned the top so it followed a lower line, and grafted in headlights from a 1956 Chrysler 300. The hood was hand-fabricated, the bumpers were sectioned and smoothed, and the gas filler was hidden away like a secret compartment. Painted in Axalta burning brick, the car glowed under show lights like hot coals, ready to burn rubber. The interior? Gabe's Street Rod Custom Interiors did a 2-tone brown leather masterpiece, reworking T-bird bucket seats up front, and a custom rear bench that made the car look classy without screaming for attention. Even the top got a glass rear window, keeping it clean while letting you actually see out the back. 10. 1965 Dodge Dart. This was the 4th runner-up in 2015, owned by Willie Mays and built by Big Oak Garage. And it wasn't supposed to be the showstopper it became. Originally, Willie just wanted a nice Dodge Dart to remind him of the one his brother had in high school. But when he dropped it off at Big Oak Garage, Will Posey took one look and said, "It's not the usual model people customize." But Willie said the magic words, "Do what you want. I just want it to still look like a Dart." The green paint, officially BASF, green with envy, was bright enough to make you squint. Underneath, Big Oak built a completely custom chassis with Ride-Tech shocks, Magnum Force sway bars, and control arms. Wilwood 14-inch discs were tucked behind custom shot wheels that somehow fit 2 2540R18 Michelins up front and massive 340/30R19s in the rear. In the front, they reshaped the fenders with subtle bulges so those big tires could turn without slapping the fenders. The rear got a narrowed Ford 9-inch for clearance. It was the kind of bodywork that looks invisible until you park it next to a stock Dart and realize how different it really is. Under the hood sat a Magnuson supercharged 5.7-liter Hemi, bored and stroked out to 392 cubic inches, ready to blast that Dart down the road like a guided missile. Instead of hacking up the hood to fit it, they did subtle metal shaping so the hood just barely cleared, keeping the factory spine and divots so it still looked stock. The casual viewer would think nothing had changed, but the gearheads knew better. They didn't stop there. The front fascia was transformed with a crosshairs grille, giving off a CUDA-like vibe, custom one-off headlights with integrated signals, and a reshaped bumper that tied it all together. The engine bay was clean, enclosed, and modern without losing the Mopar soul. 11th, 1969 Ford F-100 Time Capsule. Imagine a 69 Ford F-100, so detailed and clean that it makes a brand new truck look sloppy. That's exactly what Scott's Hot Rods and Customs pulled off with this beast they call Time Capsule. This ride was a finalist at the Barrett-Jackson Cup, gunning for a $20,000 prize. And trust me, it deserved every bit of that spotlight. They started this truck way back in 2016 in Oxnard, California, and it sat through shop moves, paint jail, and even a year hiding in a trailer because it was just too fresh to risk in a dusty shop. They weren't about to let metal dust scuff this masterpiece. They installed a 5.0-liter Coyote engine with a 6R80E overdrive transmission, custom machined valve covers, and an in-house stainless steel exhaust featuring MagnaFlow mufflers that produce a purr and snarl just right. The entire rig sits on a custom Super Slam chassis with RideTech shocks and Slam Specialties airbags, providing a lay-frame stance without the ride of a brick. Now, the wheels? Pure jewelry. We're talking custom avant-garde 3-piece forged wheels with a carbon fiber overlay and transparent red centers, measuring 19 by 10 up front and a fat 20 by 12 out back. Those 13-inch Wilwood discs peeking behind them mean it's not just a looker, it'll stop on a dime too. Every inch of this F-100 has been touched, reshaped, or reimagined. The inner bed sides mimic the outer dent side. The tailgate was custom-made to shut perfectly, and the bumpers were hand-built, tucked, and flush-mounted. Even the taillights are custom-machined pieces of art. Inside, it's wrapped in peanut butter-colored leather stitched by Steve Holcomb at Pro Auto Interiors, paired with a one-off Spark Industries steering wheel, vintage air system, and a kicker JL audio sound system, hidden so clean you wouldn't even know it's there until the bass drops. Which of these insane Barrett-Jackson Cup builds would you take for a spin if you could? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, look at the wildest machines ever to hit the Barrett-Jackson stage. Smash that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable car collections coming your way.